This video is brought to you by G2A.com. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Battlefront. I'm sure you've all seen the gameplay trailer that was uploaded at E3. It's got over 9 million views now on YouTube, obviously very popular. There was also a co-op gameplay which was uploaded, not as popular but still pretty cool to see that game mode nonetheless. And I actually got to play both of these game modes at E3, and although most of the stuff in the demos has already been talked about and picked apart, every little detail, there's still a few things that I haven't seen talked about, and they're quite interesting mechanics or just the way the game plays really. So I'm just going to talk openly and candidly about the game, my thoughts on it, what some of the more interesting mechanics are, and I guess we will go from there. The game mode that we saw in the multiplayer demo is called Walker Assault, and it's the Rebels versus the Imperials, obviously, and there's two AT-ATs that are on rails. You can't control them. You can control the guns, but you can't actually control the direction of them, and they're moving towards a rebel bunker to destroy it. The Imperials, or the Empire, have to support the AT-ATs, and the Rebels have to try and destroy them, stop them getting to the bunker, and they do that by running around the level and activating these radar dish sort of uplink stations. And the radar dishes can be activated by the Rebels and also deactivated by the Empire, so it's sort of like a back and forth game of Rush in a way. Now, if some of the uplinks have been activated for a prolonged period of time, it actually calls in Y-wing bombers, and these are AI controlled. It's just a scripted event. The Y-wing bombers come in, they bomb the AT-AT, and they leave it vulnerable. They destroy the shields, I guess. And when the shields are down, you can attack it. You can do damage to it with any weapon that you have. You can do damage to it with the rockets, the vehicles, but the easiest way to take it down is, as you saw in the trailer, with a snow speeder. So you fly next to the AT-AT, on the PS4 you press L1 and R1, and that shoots the tow cable round. You go round and round in a circle like 3 or 4 times and it comes down. People were wondering, like, is that like automatic? Do you actually control that? No, you don't. It's actually a little mini game. You can't see it in the trailer, but in the gameplay on the left hand side of the screen, when you actually activate the tow cable, a bar appears on the left and the right, and you have to keep an icon almost in the middle using the right thumbstick. So it's a very simple mini game, and then if you complete it, you actually take the AT-AT down. So that's the gist of the game mode. Obviously, if the Rebels fail to stop the AT-ATs, the bunker is blown up and the Rebels will lose. So how about the map size? What's it like in this game mode? Well, as I've said, this is kind of like a Rush game mode, so it's a small portion of the map, like a very linear portion of the map. There are some indoor bunkery bits as well. Again, you saw those right at the start of the trailer. You can actually fight in those bits if you want to later on when the game moves up. But yeah, it's quite a linear map. The playing space isn't really that big, but I'm hoping that there is like a big conquesty style version of this map rather than just this small linear version of Hoth. It's actually quite noticeable how small it is when you get into vehicles as well. You can probably only do like up and down, to be honest. Like, this isn't like Battlefield style dogfights where you're like flying really high above the map or like really out of bounds. You're pretty much in the same sort of playing space as the other players, just much higher up, and obviously you're in the air. But it's sort of like straight lines in a way, I suppose, when you're in the vehicles. And a lot of people wanted to know about the vehicle handling, because it kind of looks very basic in the trailer, and having played the game and been in a snowspeeder and an X-Wing, I can tell you that it is extremely basic. From what I could tell, you can't do rolls with the thumbsticks. Like, you can only accelerate and decelerate. Obviously you get a little bit of movement so you can aim at stuff, but you can't like roll upside down like you can like a jet in BF3 or BF4, for example. So it's very simplistic. You can press certain buttons on the D-pad as well, and that will cause your Snowspeeder or X-Wing or TIE Fighter to do like a maneuver. So I think if you pressed left or right on the D-pad, it would do like a 180. It might have been up on the D-pad actually. Down on the D-pad changed the view from third to first person. That was like an instant thing. But I think it was, maybe it was up on the D-pad. You did like a 180, and that was all automated by the game. You didn't control any of that. The vehicle handling is very simple. There's like a soft lock as well for the aim, where if you keep someone in your target for long enough, it will like sort of automatically track them. It reminded me a bit of like War Thunder, where you get the crosshair and then you get the secondary crosshair sort of thing. If you played the game, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now, another interesting thing about the vehicles, which I don't think anyone's actually picked up on, you will have noticed there's like a yellow bar at the bottom that changes depending on how fast you're going. Now, with the X-Wing and with the TIE Fighter, I don't think this was with the Snowspeeder, it was just with the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, the faster you go, the less damage your weapons do. So if you're holding forward on the left analog stick and going really, really fast, you're not going to be doing much damage. But if you hold back and slow right down, that's actually going to transfer more power to your guns, your lasers, and they're going to do more damage. So you've got quite an interesting dynamic there of, I can go really slow and do a lot of damage, but of course if I'm going slow, I'm a really easy target for air vehicles and ground vehicles. So there's a little bit of complexity to the air combat, but overall it's incredibly simple. Like I said, another vehicle in there, the AT-AT. It is on rails, after all. It's an objective, it's part of the game mode. Like, I think if they gave control to people, they would just wander off in completely the wrong direction, and you just get trolls and people not playing the objective, hanging back. So I don't mind that it's on rails. You can actually jump into the gun. It was one of the pickups on the level from what I remember. It has 3 guns. It has like anti-infantry, anti-vehicle, and an airstrike, which looks really, really overpowered, but it's an AT-AT. It's an airstrike. It's going to absolutely decimate things. And if you're a rebel, you can actually use the shield, the bubble shield sort of thing, to protect you from an airstrike. It will actually save your ass from that. So there's 3 weapons in there, and there's also like an energy bar that you'll see on the screen, and that ticks down, but if you get kills and if you keep getting kills, it will actually like bump it up a bit. So you have a limited time in the AT-AT. You can't, I don't think you'd be able to stay there the entire round because you'd run out of targets, I guess. But the more things that you kill, the longer you get with it. So that's the incentive to actually try and kill people. And it's really fun, of course, to be in like an AT-AT, right? So that's the AT-AT. There's also the AT-ST as well, which is the smaller vehicle. It's sort of like the tank, I guess, of Star Wars in a really weird way. Very quick. Doesn't take a whole lot of damage because it can actually be shot by any weapon in the game. Like rebels can shoot at it with like blaster pistols and it will do damage. So it can go down quite quickly, and I think the rocket pickup will actually kill it in one shot. So you got to stay on your toes, although the weapons on it do have a little bit of splash damage from what I remember, so you can actually go on some nice kill streaks with it. Bringing it to the infantry play now, the general gunplay felt pretty good, to be honest. I think DICE were actually good at that sort of thing. There wasn't like a crazy amount of recoil on the guns. You could control them quite easily. I feel like the big one, I think it was the MG42 sort of looking gun. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it's the one that's like a long machine gun sort of thing. It looks like it's inspired by the MG42 anyway. Like that was really, really good because it had such like a rapid rate of fire, and it didn't have much recoil, so you could just blast people. Even at like medium ranges you could kill them. So the shooting felt good. There is aim down the sight, sort of. Like if the weapon has a scope on it, it will, and you left trigger in first person mode and in third person mode actually, if you press left trigger with a weapon with a scope on, it's actually going to fill your screen up. But it's not like you're looking down the scope of the gun, like 3D model of the gun like you would in Battlefield or Call of Duty, for example. It just completely fills up your screen with like a scope, like a texture, I guess, and you can obviously see what's going on in the middle, so you can shoot at people. So it's sort of like a pseudo aim down the scope, I guess, but you can do it with weapons that have scopes. If it doesn't have a scope, you can't, so you're just going to be using hip fire. But, and this is something that I've talked about in a previous video, as it stands, there is no penalty, there's no difference between shooting in first and third person. The recoil, the spread, the accuracy is exactly the same. So if you're in third person, you've got all the benefits of being in first person, but you can see around corners and you can see your character model and all the lovely graphics a bit better. So I know it's a choice, and some people will play in first person because they're just more used to it, they're more comfortable with it, but I really think that playing in third person, if you're going to go like super tryhard mode, is always going to be the best solution, because you can see around corners with it and there's no penalty to firing. So there you go, just thought you guys might want to know that. The time to kill feels medium. It's not fast, it's not slow, it's just somewhere in the middle. Kind of feels a bit longer than BF4 at the moment, but not too much. You know, it still feels like 4 or 5 chest shots would kill someone, and like a couple of headshots would kill someone. That's fine. Like, I didn't think it was too long or too short, anything like that. There's also an active reload mechanic, and this is something that I haven't seen many people talk about either, and you noticed it in the demo. If you shoot your blaster or your rifle, whatever it is, for too long, it's gonna overheat. And of course, like, there are no magazines, you don't have to reload it, but it overheats, and a bar appears around your crosshair, like a red line, and on the red line there's also a little yellow bit, and if you press square or the reload button, whatever that may be, when it's in the yellow square, it will actually give you a much faster reload. And this is a system that I first saw in Gears of War. It was called the active reload system back then. I guess you could just call it the same thing. So if you're good enough, you can actually shorten the time it takes to cool your weapon down by hitting the reload button again when it's in that little yellow square. So that adds a little bit of depth and tactics, I suppose, to the infantry fighting. There were 2 heroes in the demo, obviously Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Luke, from what I remember, had a block, a force jump, and a force push. You could jump really far with the jump. The block blocked anything that was in front of you, and I remember that you actually had to hold a button for it to block. The force push, as well, as you can see in the trailer, is actually a one-hit kill, and you can take out big groups of enemies. Darth Vader had a grip, and you saw that in the trailer when the guy sort of like floats in the air. I don't know if you can do multiple people. I presume you can, seeing as Luke can sort of like force push multiple people. And what you can do with Darth as well is throw your lightsaber. So you could grip people, throw your lightsaber at them so it kills them, then the lightsaber comes back. And I think he also had a block. I didn't actually get to use the lightsaber that much. There's a guy on the subreddit actually that's gone into more depth about it, but he said that you could do an overhand and an underhand swing, and I don't believe he ever actually got into a fight with Darth Vader. So I don't know whether when you actually play the game you get into sort of like this parry minigame scenario like they had in the trailer. I hope that's not the case and it's actual, like, you know, directional combat with the lightsaber, but that remains to be seen. But that's sort of the way the heroes are. And to play as the heroes, you find pickups scattered around the level. The hero pickups are incredibly hard to find. The other pickups, like the smart rockets and the team shield, for example, were like quite easy to find. You could also find vehicle pickups. Like, you could actually see what the vehicle pickup was, though you couldn't see what the other pickups were. So if you want to get in a snowspeeder, it would be a snowspeeder pickup, TIE fighter, X-wing. And when you get the pickup, you sort of like hold a button, I think it was square or L1 and R1 again, and you call it in, and then you just spawn mid-air in the vehicle. Like, in this game, there's no spawning into vehicles like you would in a Battlefield game. Like, you can't jump into a TIE fighter or jump into an X-wing and then take it off from a hangar, for example. You're always starting in the air, and also you can't land it and get out. So if you're doomed, or if you know you're gonna die, you just have to sort of accept it and die. You can't eject and parachute out, for example. I don't like that. I'd prefer if I could actually bail out at least once of the vehicle, and if I bailed out, maybe it was just destroyed, because obviously this isn't looking like a game where you can repair vehicles and get in, get out, for example, get your repair tool out. It's not that sort of game. But if I know that I'm going to go down, I'd at least like to eject and get myself back onto the battlefield, sort of thing. But you can't do that. You can't do it with the ATSTs either. You just have to sort of accept that you're going to die. Overall, the gameplay was fun. I have to say. Like, I had a lot of fun. Obviously the graphics and the sound is just like incredible. It's probably some of the best in the business. It's authentic Star Wars. The particle effects look fantastic. Some of the backgrounds just look photorealistic at times. Apparently as well, you know, in the sky you can see like Star Destroyers and rebel ships sort of like fighting each other. Apparently in the sky, the battle changes depending on what's happening in the ground. So if the rebels are winning, you might see in the sky like a Star Destroyer exploding and then crashing to the earth or something like that, and vice versa if the Empire's winning. So that's a pretty cool feature, that they've got those sort of active backgrounds. So the graphics are great, it goes without saying. But as I said, overall the game feels fun at its core, but it is incredibly simple and casual mainstream. Like, I know that's their audience, like that's the Star Wars audience, right? If they made this super tactical, in-depth multiplayer game, it's not going to appeal to just, you know, casual gamers or casual Star Wars fans that want to play a cool Star Wars game. This isn't Battlefield Star Wars, and I think a lot of people were probably expecting it to be like that. Everything is very focused and refined, and for the game itself, like, that's a really good thing, because with BF4 especially, DICE just packed so many features into the game that it was just really bloated and not everything worked well together. Some things were kind of hard to understand. This game is incredibly simple, I have to say, and it does cater for the mainstream casual players. Some people will hate that, some people will love it. I don't mind it because this isn't Battlefield. Like, it's a separate game. DICE are making their own Battlefront game, right? And Battlefront was never extremely complicated in that respect. But I have to say, I do worry a little bit that because it's so simple, I hope that there's enough content in there to keep people playing it longer than, say, a couple of months. Obviously they're going to have DLC as well, but the base game itself, there's 4 environments from what we've seen. We haven't seen all the game modes, of course. Like, this is the first public multiplayer gameplay that they've actually put out there, so there's obviously lots of content in the game that we haven't seen so far. But the actual mechanics of the game itself, because it's so simple, and I think it also sort of hampers the skill gap, because you're going to get to a point where all the people who play the game a lot get to a certain level, and because of how simple the game is, there's just going to be like a big plateau of players who are the same skill. And I know, like, it isn't about skill, it's about just having fun and having a laugh, but I do feel like there are a lot of gamers out there who will pick up this game and maybe they're looking for a bit more depth because it's a DICE game, for example, and because they've got the legacy of Battlefield, but they're not going to find that sort of game here. It is very casual, mainstream, and easy to pick up. You know, kids could play this game and have a good time. Like, your dad could play this game, which is great. That's really cool. But I do feel like there's a large audience of gamers who are going to be disappointed by how simplistic it is at times. At times as well, it kind of felt like I was just running around playing Star Wars Team Deathmatch, and I know, like, this is at a game show, like, there's a lot of media there isn't anyone talking to each other on comms or anything, but there aren't any squads in the game. Like, as far as I can tell, there's no orders system either, so you can't say, right, let's focus on that AT-AT, or hey, I need help taking down this AT-ST. There's a partner system where you can have one other person who's partnered with you, and you can see them on the HUD, and I think you can see them on the minimap as well, on the radar. But apart from that, like, there really wasn't much teamwork, and it did just feel like I was running around playing Star Wars Team Deathmatch. And again, like, that's not a bad thing, because when you've got a game that's so authentic and cool, like, I know their tagline is live out all your Star Wars fantasies. It does feel like that. You know, it feels like I'm playing Star Wars, like I'm playing the game that I wanted to play when I was a little kid. But on first impressions, I just wish there was more of an emphasis on teamwork, because after all, this is a team game. It's Rebels versus Imperials, and you would assume that the Rebels and the Imperials have some sort of organization and tactics, but as a player, I didn't feel like I had the option to explore any of that when I was playing. It just felt like, oh, hey, I'm going to go run around and kill some stormtroopers, and then I can play as Luke Skywalker for a bit. But there you go. That's just my my first impressions of the game. I'm sure when we get to play it some more will be revealed, and we'll see that there may be more depth to the game. But that's how it appears to me with this game mode anyway. Just another example as well. Like, I came to a point where I was fighting an AT-ST, and it was just me shooting the ATST and just a couple of teammates next to me just shooting the ATST with blasters. It was like there was just a piece of meat on the screen. I know this is really weird. This is going to sound really, really weird, but this is the best way I can describe it in my head. So there's a piece of meat on the screen. It's moving. It's doing damage to us, and we have to shoot it to kill it. Like, eventually it blows up. There was no interesting gameplay for me there, if that makes sense. Like, I wish there was maybe a weak spot on the ATST. Maybe there was, maybe I just didn't see, or you can shoot from behind and it does more damage, but it just felt like we were just shooting a piece of meat, and there was not much thought behind it, put it that way. So if they added weak spots to the vehicles, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't want to complain too much because, like I said, this is just one demo that I've played just a couple of times. There's a lot more that the game has to offer, obviously. Also, the co-op mode, like, that was really cool. It looked like there were some gestures in there too where you could clap and wave. Like, that sort of game mode is cool for you know, kids playing with their parents, for example. They could play split screen in front of the TV. You could play with your mates at a house party. It's a bit of a challenge, you know, like you go through all the waves and you have to fight back the Empire and stormtroopers to get harder and harder. ATSTs come along, and that's like cool. It was cool that they had that separate challenge game mode in the game. It sort of acts like a replacement to single player, I guess, in a way, or like a tutorial for the multiplayer game. Lots of people are definitely going to enjoy the challenge mode. Apart from that, the HUD, the minimap was fine. I just didn't think they had any levels on it. Adding levels would be pretty cool. The health bar, I think, was a bit too big, and I really didn't like the star cards on the right hand side. That's the gear that you have on your character's inventory, like the grenades, the bubble shield, the jetpack, for example, and it was just too big. Like, I think that could be much smaller and less intrusive. Apart from that though, like I said, at its core, I had a lot of fun playing Star Wars Battlefront. I don't want to get too involved in the hype because I know it's really easy. Like, the trailer was fucking amazing. Like, the guys in the DICE video department are just insane at making gameplay trailers. Like, I don't think anyone does it better. And you watch that trailer and the sounds and the graphics and the cuts, it's just like, holy shit, like, this is going to be an epic Star Wars game. And I think it is, but at the same time, maybe it's not the in-depth Battlefront experience that a lot of people were expecting. It's much more casual and focused, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for some people, but others maybe will be turned off by that, and the longevity of the game might suffer because of it. So there we have it. That's about all I wanted to cover, and I hope you picked up some interesting information. If you want to know anything else, just let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see if I can answer it based on the gameplay at E3. How do you think this game's shaping up? Are you looking forward to it more or less now you've seen the 2 gameplay trailers? What do you think? Please let me know. Let's get a little discussion going. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate that. Hope you had a nice weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.